Hi guys, this is Leela. Welcome to my channel leelawebdev. In this video, we will see about the container restart policy. So let's try to learn about this. What is this container restart policy? In our previous videos, we have seen about the Docker creation process. So how we can create the process and the port forwarding, configuring the static IP address in the virtual machine and all those things we have seen it. Now in this video, we need to learn about the container restart policy. So what is this restart policy? First of all, you need to understand why we have to use this one. As an administrator, so for example, if you are a DevOps administrator or anything, so who is managing these particular containers and all, if he creates a container, sometimes if I create a container, let's say that I am administrator, so sometimes I need to shut down my particular server automatically. So containers will get stopped. Again, I need to start the virtual machine or bare metal server or any cloud instance. So for example, here what is happening is, what I am trying to explain it is, so as an administrator who is managing the particular containers and the thing. So for example, if he creates a container or anything, sometimes so the containers and all those things, the particular server shut down the particular server automatically. So that means he, for some reason, he need to shut down the particular server automatically. So here what will happen? Containers will get stopped automatically. Again, what we need to do? So again, we need to start the virtual machine or the bare metal server or any cloud instance. Then the containers will come up. If the container doesn't come up, my container will be on down status until I started with the docker start command. So for some reasons you are restarting the server. So for example, particular server, if you want to shut down and restart means, so if you shut down the particular server means automatically what are all the containers present in that server will be stopped. So that means when you restart the then what you need to do, so again you need to start the virtual machine or the cloud machine or anything, whichever things, the server you need to start, and then the containers will come up. If the containers doesn't come up, so if the containers doesn't come up, the containers will be on down status until I start with the docker start command. So manually if I try to start it, then only it will start. To avoid these kind of challenges, we have to use something called restart policy. As administrator, we cannot restart all the containers, right? So why? Because, so for example, for some reason you have shut down the server. Now you have started the server. So when you start the server, all the containers will start up, fine, it will come up, fine. So some containers due to some reason, so it didn't get started means it will be in the down status until we start it manually. So here these challenges will be there. So for example, then what we'll try to do, so administrator, if all the containers got stopped means he cannot restart all the containers, right? So whenever I do a restart of my node, I cannot start all my containers in that particular node. Actually, it is not an easy task for the administrator. To simplify that particular job, we use something called as a restart policy. So in this register policy, in the Docker registry, we have totally in this restart policy, actually, we have total four types which are supported in the Docker engine. One is no, always, on failure unless stopped, and the last one is unless stopped. So these are the four restart policies that are available at the time of Docker creation. The first one is no or never. So if you see this particular parameter, it is set by default. So if it doesn't mention anything for a container means it is set by default. No or never is a default one. Default restart policy that get assigned when we create a container without passing -- restart. So this is the parameter we will be passing with. If you doesn't pass anything -- restart means, or otherwise if you pass the parameter has -- restart no means, then this default restart policy will be applied. This means, let's say I created a container and I never passed a parameter called -- restart. Till now, while we have created, we haven't used this option. So up to now, when we are creating the container, we haven't used this option. So if you pass -- restart, what will happen? If you doesn't pass if you pass only -- restart, what will happen? The default restart policy will be applied. That is no. If it doesn't pass also, it will apply. If you pass only -- restart means the default policy is nothing but no will be applied. No in the sense means your container will never get started automatically by your Docker daemon. So you have to start it manually. So right now what we are trying to do, that is the only thing it will be applied. Whether if it is failed due to some reason or not failed due to some reason, or for everything you have to do it, you have to start it manually. If it is failed or not failed, something happened or anything. So if the container is stopped means if you manually stop it or anything, whatever you do it, so you have to start it manually. That means with this policy, no container will not get started by the Docker daemon. when a container gets exited with greater than or equivalent to 0. So that means the Docker daemon will not start this container when a container gets exited with greater than or equal to 0. For example, let's say that when you check the container status using command, so docker container ps, one of the container got with exit status as 0. So let's say that when you are trying to check the containers with the docker containers ps, so you know you came to know that one of the container got exited with status 0. What does it mean? There is no error in the application, it has stopped successfully. So that means in that container there is no error, it has stopped successfully. For example, you shut down your virtual machine, which we are using right now as a Docker host machine. So right now for the virtual machine which we are using, the Ubuntu server, so we have shut down our virtual machine. So when you shut down your virtual machine, automatically all the containers in that virtual machine will get stopped, which we have discussed it. So it is a successful exit actually. So that means the exit code will be 0 if the container shut down. Again, if I start my virtual machine, Docker daemon will get started. After that, my container will not get started. That is the default behavior of no. So whenever you start the virtual machine again, Docker daemon will get started, but the containers will not get started. That is the default behavior of no. You have to start it by using the docker container start command. This is the default behavior of no status, which is by default assigned to the container if you don't pass any -- restart policy. So this is the concept which you need to understand. Hope you are clear with this one. So the exit status can be checked with the two commands, that is nothing but docker container ps-a and also the docker container inspect container name. So if you want to get accurate details or more details about the container means, you can go for the second command, that is nothing but docker container inspect and the container name. Next restart policy is the always. If you want to create a container with always, you need to pass the parameter as -- restart always in the docker container run command. The purpose of this is the Docker daemon will attempt to restart when the container gets exited with any value greater than or equal to 0. So that means the Docker daemon will automatically restart the container whenever the container gets exited with greater than or equal to 0. Let's say that for whatever reason your container has stopped. The exit code could be 0 or greater than 0. For whatever reason, the Docker daemon will try to attempt to restart. So that means if the container has stopped for any reason, it could be anything, any value, 0 or greater than 0, anything. So for whatever reason it is, the Docker daemon, what it will try to do, it will try to attempt to restart. If the container is stopped manually, so if you have manually stopped it, the Docker daemon restart is needed to start the container again, or we need to start if we don't want node restart. Okay, so the Docker daemon is needed to start the container again. For example, let's say that I stopped my container using docker container stop. That means you have intentionally stopped it. Remember that with this restart policy, it will never try to start your container when you stopped it. What you have to do, you have to restart your daemon manually. Then the changes will be applied. Means the restart policy of always will be applied, or you have to reboot the node. So when you apply for a container -- restart always, so you stop the container means automatically the restart policy will not apply. So what you need to do is you need to restart your daemon, or otherwise completely you need to restart your node. Then only this -- restart always will be applied. Don't think that you apply the restart always for the container start, and you don't think that container will be the daemon will be starting that container always. Don't think like that. So you need to restart the server when you apply this restart always to the container. Rebooting the node is not an easy solution because all the applications will come down. Again your node has to come up. After that all the container has to come up, and you have to test your applications whether they are working or not. So this is not easy for production grade applications. So restarting the entire machine or the bare machine or the node or the virtual machine is not an easy solution because all the applications will come down. Why? Because I told you, right, all the containers will be stopped when you shut down your node. So then all the containers has to come up. Then we need to test the applications whether they are working properly or not. So this for production grade applications, this is not the ideal option. So for that reason, what is the best option is you have to restart the daemon. So restarting a daemon will not affect your applications. Always means for whatever reason it got stopped, your container will get started using the Docker daemon. So that is one thing. The third restart policy is the on failure. On failure means you have to pass the parameter. That is nothing but -- restart on -- failure : max -- retries. Let us discuss this in detail. containers will get restarted only if the exit code is greater than 0. So here in this one, the containers will get restarted only if the exit code is greater than 0. Whereas in the always greater than or equal to 0, the containers will get restarted. Here in this one, the containers will get restarted only when it is greater than 0. Only if the container got stopped due to some failure, means exit code greater than 0, then the Docker daemon will try to restart because you have written on failure. So that is the thing. If you stopped the container manually or the container got exited with a status code of 0, Docker daemon will do any restart of a container. You have to start it manually. So that means if you stopped the container manually or the container got exited with status code of 0, means Docker daemon will not do any restart of a container. So here I have written will not do any restart. You have to do it manually, where that is nothing but on failure maximum retries. Optionally, you can set how many restarts can Docker daemon will try. You have seen caller max retries, right? So you can also set how many restarts the Docker daemon has to try. What does it mean? As if you mention maximum retries. Docker daemon will try to restart first. The container did not start. It will try to do a restart again, and it will do a restart again. Like that, how many times it will do it is you define in the maximum retries. That many times it will try. The last option is unless stopped. So it looks similar to the restart always, but there is a slight difference between the unless stopped and the always. So if a container is stopped manually or exited with a 0 status, the Docker daemon will not do any restart on the container. So here unless stopped means, so the Docker daemon will not do any restart if it is stopped manually or if it is exited with an 0 option. But what it will do on always, it will do a start, but whereas in this status it will not a start. So in the restart always it will do it will not always start it, but whereas in this status it will not start. This is the basic difference. But if your container is exited with greater than 0, means the Docker daemon will do a restart on the container. So in this status, if the container is got exited with an exit code of 0 greater than 0, then the Docker daemon will be restarted in this container. So this is all about the container restart policy. So now let's see some important notes in the restart policy. Restart policy can be set while creating a container or even after the container has been created. So this restart policy, which we have seen the extra parameter, so you can write that parameter at the time of the creation, or otherwise even after the container has been created also you can set the restart policy. Whereas the port forwarding, we cannot set it. You have to remember at the time of creation only. So this one you have to remember it very careful, that port forwarding you cannot set it. So port forwarding need to be decided at the time of the container creation only. Whereas the restart policy, you can use it, you can add it at the time of the container creation, or otherwise after the container has been created also you can set the restart policy. Container by default has never, that is no policy. We can set it after the container has been created also. Policy will affect after the container has started successfully and up for at least 10 seconds. So that means here the restart policy, if you have set for the container, the policy will be applied only after the container has been up for at least 10 seconds. For example, let's say that you have created a container. For some reason in less than 10 seconds the container itself is restarting. Then the container restart policy will not be applied. So container needs to be started and it should be up at least 10 seconds. Then only all the restart policy will be applied. Why? Because at the time of container creation, so all the configurations and all those things need to be applied, and it will take some time for the container to get up and started. So when the container is started up successfully, then we should wait for 10 seconds, and then only the restart policy will be applied to that container. So this is the another one which you need to understand. So hope you understood about this container restart policy. So we have totally 4 types of restart policy, that is no, restart always. So another one is on failure, maximum retries, and the last one is unless stop. So these are the 4 restart policy which we are having. So let's try to show you where it is. Yeah, on failure, unless stopped, no, always, and unless stop. So hope you understood about this restart policy. If you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video. And if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.